Experience unmatched comfort with Heirloom, the mattress of choice for true luxury. During the VIP sale at Room to Room, enjoy an extra 10% off customer favorite Heirloom. Don't miss this exclusive opportunity at Room to Room Tupelo.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. It has been a beautiful Saturday all across North Mississippi. I hope y'all have had a fun time either outside, watching some football inside, playing some football outside. Whatever y'all have been up to, I know it was enjoyed with some beautiful conditions outdoors. Meteorologist Caleb Edelblut here in the Room to Room Weather Center, and I am more than excited for y'all to join us. So let's get into this weekend's forecast. This beautiful weekend will continue. This isn't just a Saturday thing. We're going to see this continue into your Sunday as well. And technically, we can see these beautiful conditions continue into the work week as well. Those dry conditions, however, those are going to stick around as well. This is our dry season. We're expecting of this now. We know how this works here in Mississippi. So for those of you that want these beautiful conditions along with rainfall, not really going to be getting that as we continue into the weekend or into the work week ahead. We have a long ways to go until we start to see some meaningful rainfall. But speaking of rainfall, I want to give you an update on the tropics at the end of this broadcast just to give us something to look at. Thankfully, this isn't a major update on anything life impacting for the United States as of right now, but got to look at rainfall somewhere because it is definitely not happening here in North Mississippi. So let's take a live look at all these beautiful conditions occurring across North Mississippi. This is out in Oxford right now. I know y'all got that win against, was it Washington State, if I remember right? I know it was kind of tense at the start and looking a little nervous, but y'all pulled out the W. 75 degrees, feels like 77, not really much of a wind component. You can already see kind of a sunset haze going on out there in Oxford as the sun begins to set. So beautiful conditions, but also notice clear conditions. Not many clouds out there in Oxford. That has been the trend all across North Mississippi. Taking a look out here in Greenville, some clouds trying to pop up, 82 degrees. Thankfully feels like 82, so you're not really bumping up into the mid to upper 80s. Humidity is not really playing a factor, which is why we feel so good outside. So those temperatures are pretty much, feels like values are reading exactly like those temperatures, if not a little bit cooler as well. The sun starting to set will give a beautiful sunset if those clouds can stick around, get some color. Out here, another great look at the sunset out in Aberdeen. 75, feels like 77, a little iridescence going on through that camera lens, but that's pretty much all we can look at because there are no clouds in the sky, just blue, crystal blue, clear skies going on above us here in North Mississippi. And we can see those clear conditions pretty much all evening long here in the first 12, starting off in the low 70s by the time we reach 7 o'clock, cooling off towards the low 60s. But thankfully, we are seeing those upper 50s start to return in the AM hours. But we're going to see low 50s as we get closer and closer towards that Sunday morning. So it will be a crisp start to our Sunday before we start warming up. But thankfully, only warming back up towards those low 80s. We're not really pushing those mid to upper 80s that we've seen just with how above average we've been here in North Mississippi. Taking a live look out here in the Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Not much to look at right now. We are saying dry. No, this is not precipitation. I mean, I even debated putting this in just to show y'all, but I want to make sure y'all at least know what's going on, and that's pretty much nothing all across North Mississippi. So definitely beautiful conditions outdoors and will allow any outdoor fun to be had. But speaking of those above average temperatures, this is our temperature outlook for not this coming work week. It'll technically be at the end of it, but October 17th through the 21st. So we're technically above average right now, but we feel great. So let's enjoy these temperatures while we have them. We're not really experiencing those fall-like weather conditions, even though we keep getting further and further into fall. We have definitely been warmer and above average. Unfortunately, that trend will continue. I'll even widen this out because there are two different shades of red right here. Let's widen it out just a little bit to see what's going on here across the southeast. So definitely on the warmer side of this trend. So it will be above average as we continue into the back half of the work week and weekend. It will also be dry as well, which is what's responsible for these temperatures being above average, or a part of it. But definitely wanted to give that and there so that way we know. Let's enjoy these calm conditions. Let's enjoy these cooler conditions with what they have been compared to those above average temperatures we've experienced the past few work weeks. Taking a look at Futurecast, we can see these calm, clear conditions all across North Mississippi. Some cloud cover out in the Delta. That's pretty much it where we can find it before those even start to dissipate as well. Most of that cloud cover staying out west of us into Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, anywhere but Mississippi. We are still staying clear into those early AM hours, and we're going to continue to do so into Sunday morning as well. So it will be a beautiful start to our Sunday morning commute, especially for any church commuters. It will be a great start to your Sunday as well, even by 10 o'clock, seeing those clear skies, not much going on. We love these boring forecasts here because we get to enjoy them here in North Mississippi. We can see this clear forecast continue into the next 24 pretty much all day long, starting off in those low 50s, so a cooler start to your day. We'll definitely want to have sweatpants or long sleeve on. Might start shedding them by the time you get towards the afternoon, but still mid 70s by the time you reach 12 o'clock. Seeing those low 80s start to pop up by the time we reach those afternoon hours, and then we're going to start cooling off as we progress further into the evening as well. But sunny skies is the story as we continue into our Sunday and wrap up our weekend. But let's continue to enjoy it. It's going to feel amazing outside. I want to give you an in-depth look on what that looks like for your Saturday and Sunday, but also when's the next chance we can see those rain chances start to return. All that coming up in 1 minute.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, thanks for sticking here with us at Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Taking a live look out here in Starkville. 77 degrees, feels like 79. Not much wind going out there, but still love putting this camera. Beautiful campus. I know no Mississippi State fans, me included, are stressing over our team. We have a bye week, so thankfully I think we went technically 2 for 2 this week on SEC forecast. Ole Miss got their win. Alabama got a big win out there in Missouri with that road game. So did a great job here in North Mississippi getting all those wins. I know Starkville is enjoying having the week off and not stressing as much watching their team and their Bulldogs play. Take a live look out here in Batesville as well. 79 degrees, feels like 79 still. Beautiful sunset starting to occur. All those different colors starting to blend in. I wish we had clouds because then we can enjoy the sunset a little bit more, seeing all the colors up top. But definitely still a beautiful sight to see, especially with how clear it is. Feels amazing outdoors. So I hope y'all are all spending that time out there. Take a look at the day planner. We are still seeing those clear conditions pretty much all evening, all night long, starting off in the mid 60s by 8 o'clock, cooling off towards 60 degrees by 11. And then pretty much we're just going to see temperatures in the 50s by the time we get in those AM hours, pretty much all night long, allowing for a cooler start to our Sunday morning. Let's check this out on Futurecast, showing those clear, calm conditions all across North Mississippi. That northerly wind still allowing us to continue to remain dry. For some reason, it's putting a little bubble out there in Clarksdale. Would be shocked and surprised to see this, but Clarksdale, if y'all get some rain, I know y'all will enjoy it. By the time we reach 10 o'clock, we are seeing clear conditions as well. No more cloud cover all across North Mississippi. And yes, this is playing right now. There's not much to look at, but that is just how, I guess you'd say, boring or calm, clear this weather is. I feel like I'm using the same words, but that's pretty much what's going on here in North Mississippi. But I know we're going to soak up every minute of it, especially this. Low temperatures in the low 50s. I feel like even by the time you get towards the Tennessee state line, maybe you can see some upper 50s. You can see 50 degrees out there in Corinth, but it'll be a cool start to our Sunday morning, so definitely want to be bundled up by the time you're waking up. By the time you're walking out the door, and later on in the afternoon, you might want to shed them. Still clear conditions by the time you're walking out the door. Beautiful church morning commute for our Sunday morning. As we continue into lunchtime, still not much cloud cover going on across North Mississippi, not even much wind going on, not much to look at here on Futurecast. We're going to continue into the afternoon, still not seeing many clouds in the sky, so no shade, but thankfully not really needing that shade with us sticking in the low 80s. From where we've come with these summer temperatures, I know we can handle these temperatures like a champ. By the time we reach Sunday at 6 o'clock, still cloudless and clear all across North Mississippi. Here are our highs, still low 80s for most of our viewing area. You can see upper 70s in Hamilton, Red Bay, Iuka, Boonville, and Corinth, and some mid 80s, 85 in Greenwood, 84 in Belzona and Greenville. But thankfully, because of how dry we are, that humidity is not really playing a factor. Those heat and seas cooling most of us off as we continue into our Sunday and wrap up our weekend. So it will still feel great outside and technically feel a little bit better than what those actual temperatures are reading outdoors. And of course, I had to put the ice cream planner because tomorrow would be a great day to do it. 80 degrees by 1 o'clock, still sitting in the low 80s by 4 o'clock in those peak heating afternoon hours, and then cooling off towards the low 70s by 7 o'clock. I'm more of a, what's it called? Not snow cream. Snow cone. Duh, I'm more of a snow cone type of guy, but that is my favorite treat to get, especially when it's warm outside. It will be a great day to do that with these cooler temperatures that we've been experiencing lately. But Futurecast coming back to see those clear, calm conditions. That's going to continue into your Sunday night as well. So if you haven't gotten the message yet, nothing is going on this weekend and into the start of your work week as well. Early morning hours Monday, not seeing much cloud cover. You can see some wispy clouds trying to push in across from Arkansas and across the Mississippi River. Nothing meaningful. We can barely even see them on Futurecast. So very thin and wispy by the time we're waking up Monday. Maybe some of those wispier clouds trying to be a little bit more active in the evening hours for your Monday, but we are still seeing calm conditions continue into the start of the work week we have ahead. High temperatures for Monday, still a little bit warmer than what they'll be for your Sunday, so we're having a slow warming trend as we continue into the work week, but thankfully with how dry it's been, those heat and seas are going to keep you with those actual temperatures. We're not really going to feel like we're in those mid 80s because most of those highs were pretty much low to mid 80s. All of these are very low 80s, upper 70s. So it will still feel great outside even once we start our work week off on our Monday. Thankfully, that humidity not playing a role as we continue into our weekend and work week. We can see these sunny conditions continue all weekend long, but also Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday before we start seeing some cloud cover and moisture return. Not really in the form of rainfall for your Thursday and Friday. But then there we go. We have a chance for our Saturday, so definitely want to put it up there. A still long shot, a long ways away, but definitely would love to see some rainfall here in North Mississippi. But it will still feel great out here. We are sitting around the mid 80s and not really crossing above that 85 mark. So it will still feel great out here in North Mississippi. Still above average, but not as bad as what it has been or what it could be. But as promised, I want to give you an update on the tropics as well because can't talk about rainfall here in North Mississippi, but we can talk about the tropics. All of that's coming up in 1 minute.
A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it? I won't know.
Scary that it can be put into anything. We can't even see it or notice it.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Taking a look at your tropical outlook, we have a system out there. I believe it's Tropical Storm Jerry. I don't know if it's already downgraded. It has not been a very meaningful hurricane, or I don't think it ever reached hurricane status, but tropical system in the slightest. That is still just off the East Coast in the Atlantic Basin, but we do have a disturbance that the National Hurricane Center has projected. It has a chance of formation around 20% for the next 48 hours, 40% for the next 7 days. Just a little kitty bean pretty much out in the Atlantic Ocean. And notice how far away it is from the United States. Most of the time I like to clip and frame this where we can even see Tupelo and Mississippi, but it is so far away. I mean, you could start seeing Florida, Georgia, Alabama, some of Mississippi right out there. Definitely not Houston, that's just popping up. But this is a long ways away from the United States, and you can already see that more of that northerly tilt already having an effect. So not really expecting this to make an impact on the United States, but let's take a look at it with our atmospheric moisture chart. I'm kind of covering it up right now. You can see Jerry right here, I believe is where it's at currently. This is at Saturday at 7 o'clock. It's going to keep moving on out. Let's track it out. Actually, no, before we do, I did want to notice, remember how we keep talking about the dry scale, more saturated. Notice how dry we are here in North Mississippi and pretty much just the southeast. Those are the calm, clear conditions that we're going to continue to experience into the rest of the weekend and work week as well. So you can kind of look at both of them as we continue. Seeing those dry conditions still continue to push into the work week as we continue around Monday at 2 o'clock. But there we go. There's that disturbance out there just off the coast of Africa trying to make its way across the Atlantic Ocean, but also not make its way as far as most systems have gone. It's going to continue to try to strengthen. There's that Jerry system kind of making its way across the Atlantic as well. They're going to get close to each other. And as we continue into Wednesday and eventually Thursday, you can see not really making any advances towards the United States. So definitely a far away system as of right now. Of course, these models change all the time, but it is a good thing that we're already projecting it to move pretty much away from the United States completely, not making a track across the Atlantic. So there's an update on the tropics. You can still see those drier conditions over here in the United States making their way through. Definitely a little front kind of pushing on through with how dry it is. But that's the latest look on the tropics. Wanted to give y'all that update, of course, because there's not much going on here in North Mississippi. But here's the QR code for both the iOS and Android app. We appreciate all the support you have given us. We cannot do this without you guys. And I appreciate getting in front of you guys and giving you the latest update here in North Mississippi, even when it is beautiful and calm outside. But we'll be live later on tonight at 10 o'clock to give the latest look at all the model runs going on for the rest of your weekend and into your Monday as well. So I hope everyone goes outdoors, enjoy these beautiful conditions for the rest of your afternoon and evening. And I'll see y'all live back here in the Room to Room Weather Center at 10.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures.
Big out-of-state law firms treat you just like another case number. At Langston & Lott, we do things differently. We're your local lawyers right here in North Mississippi. We know this community because we're a part of it. When you call us, you talk to us, not some call center overseas. When you've been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston & Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Well, good evening and welcome back to another Mississippi Live weather update. I'm meteorologist Caleb Edelblut here in the Room to Room Weather Center. As we take a look at our day planner, we are still seeing clear skies all evening long. We're starting off around 72 degrees by 7 o'clock, cooling on off towards the low 60s by 10, and then seeing those 50s start to come back in the forecast once we make it into those AM hours. Let's check out all these conditions on Futurecast still, showing those clear skies, not much going on across North Mississippi, and that's going to be the trend all night long into the evening hours and overnight period as well. I'm just letting this play on through into the overnight period, just showing that there's not much to look at. This is in play right now. Most of that cloud cover is behind me out in Alabama, but here in North Mississippi, we are staying clear overnight and into our Sunday morning. High temperatures are still in the low 80s across most of North Mississippi. Still some upper 70s popping up in Hamilton, Red Bay, Iuka, Boonville, and Corinth. But other than that, still going to feel amazing outside in North Mississippi. It's also super dry, so those heat and seas keeping you right there with those actual temperatures, not really boosting us up into the mid to upper 80s that we've seen in the past few weeks. Looking at our 7-day forecast, we're starting off with the low 50s, a cool start to our Sunday morning, warming on up towards the low 80s before we start cooling off again towards our 10 o'clock broadcast. And we are seeing these sunny conditions continue into the work week ahead for your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then we can see maybe some more cloud cover and moisture try to come back into the atmosphere your Thursday and Friday, but then we don't really see rain chances try to pop up until Saturday for your next weekend here in North Mississippi. Of course, we'll be live later on tonight at 10, so I hope everyone has enjoyed their Saturday. Go out, enjoy these beautiful conditions as we continue into our evening, and I'll see you back here live in the Room to Room Weather Center at 10.
Hey, you there! Ever try to do something in under 6 minutes? Anything, like say, grow a beard. I bet you can. At Sweet Pepper's Deli, you get quality food in under 6 minutes. Now how about that? Sweet Pepper's Deli, life is sweet.
Join the Chickasaw and Kana Foundation for the 5th Annual Piamico Day Wreath-Laying Ceremony at Fair Park in downtown Tupelo on October 13th. Starting at 10 a.m., enjoy demonstrations of Chickasaw history and culture, followed by the wreath-laying ceremony at noon.
course, I've seen a lot of people with sleep deprivation. It affects their job, their home life. At Room to Room, we want to take the guesswork out of buying a mattress, and that's why we brought in this technology. It shows you what you need. We want to do the assessment and find exactly what's perfect for you.
Tupelo Smiles is a top-notch group. They're very compassionate about what they do. They've given me the smile that I've always wanted. I've been a patient for 15 years and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I just love Tupelo Smiles.
Well, good evening and welcome back to another Mississippi Live weather update. I'm meteorologist Caleb Edelblut here in the Room to Room Weather Center. As we take a look at our day planner, we are still seeing clear skies all evening long. We're starting off around 72 degrees by 7 o'clock, cooling on off towards the low 60s by 10, and then seeing those 50s start to come back in the forecast once we make it into those AM hours. Let's track out all these conditions on Futurecast still, showing those clear skies, not much going on across North Mississippi, and that's going to be the trend all night long into the evening hours and overnight period as well. I'm just letting this play on through into the overnight period, just showing that there's not much to look at. This is in play right now. Most of that cloud cover is behind me out in Alabama, but here in North Mississippi, we are staying clear overnight and into our Sunday morning. High temperatures are still in the low 80s across most of North Mississippi. Still some upper 70s popping up in Hamilton, Red Bay, Iuka, Boonville, and Corinth. But other than that, still going to feel amazing outside in North Mississippi. It's also super dry, so those heat and seas keeping you right there with those actual temperatures, not really boosting us up into the mid to upper 80s that we've seen in the past few weeks. Looking at our 7-day forecast, we're starting off with the low 50s, a cool start to our Sunday morning, warming on up towards the low 80s before we start cooling off again towards our 10 o'clock broadcast. And we are seeing these sunny conditions continue into the work week ahead for your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Then we can see maybe some more cloud cover and moisture try to come back into the atmosphere your Thursday and Friday, but then we don't really see rain chances try to pop up until Saturday for your next weekend here in North Mississippi. Of course, we'll be live later on tonight at 10, so I hope everyone has enjoyed their Saturday. Go out, enjoy these beautiful conditions as we continue into our evening, and I'll see you back here live in the Room to Room Weather Center at 10.
Hey, you there! Ever try to do something in under 6 minutes? Anything, like say, grow a beard. I bet you can't. At Sweet Pepper's Deli, you get quality food in under 6 minutes. Now how about that? Sweet Pepper's Deli, life is sweet.
Join the Chickasaw and Kana Foundation for the 5th annual Piamingo Day wreath-laying ceremony at Fair Park in downtown Tupelo on October 13th. Starting at 10 a.m., enjoy demonstrations of Chickasaw history and culture, followed by the wreath-laying ceremony at noon.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
across Mississippi, sunny with a high of 90 degrees. Hacker Cow here. I've got 60 seconds before the station shuts down my feed, so let's make this quick.
How did I hack this channel? An intern at the TV station clicked on my phishing email.
If only the intern had looked for red flags in email, like generic greetings, urgent demands, poor grammar, and suspicious links. If he had only turned on multi-factor authentication, such as those 6-digit codes, that might have stopped me. And the intern saved all his passwords in the web browser. Might as well hand them to me on a Post-it note. And then I figured out all the employees shared and used the same passwords everywhere. Facebook, Gmail, even their bank. This is a hacker's dream. Protect yourselves from hacker cows like me. Visit hackercow.com to learn more cybersecurity tips to protect your family and business. CyberShield Technology Solutions. Cybersecurity and IT with Southern Hospitality.